What can a person with retinitis pigmentosa actually see in the dark? I'm going to show you and explain it coming up. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, Blind to Billionaire. So what can a person with RP actually see in the dark? I'm actually here at my parents' house and it's obviously blackout as you can see behind me. And so I'm just gonna walk around outside and kind of show you around as for what I can actually see in the dark as a person with RP. So I'm actually standing at the end of their sidewalk right now, right next to a lamp, and it's very bright, but I wanted to do this so you could actually see me for this short little part. And then I'm gonna flip the camera around and start walking around and kind of pointing out different things that I can see here in their neighborhood. So I'm just gonna walk down their sidewalk and I'm gonna walk down the driveway out to the street, and I'll kind of point around at a few of the things that I can actually see here in the dark. It's not much, but hold on, we'll go for a little walk here and I'll show you. So I'm gonna flip the camera around and we'll go for it. So just walking down, trying to feel my way. Okay, so I'm at their driveway now. I'm gonna walk down. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna point at one thing real quick. So I'm standing here at the end of the sidewalk and pointing here. I don't know if you can actually see it in the video, but Corey's vehicle is parked in the driveway. And I know it's there, but I can't see it. So now also when I point this direction, right up here I can see a street light. At the end of my parents' driveway and just down on the property line, there is a street light. So I can see that. And the reason I can see that, and a vehicle's driving by right now, so I could see the headlights on that vehicle as well as very faint taillights I could see. So back to the streetlight. I can see the streetlight because it is very bright against a black background. So I can see that. I cannot see Corey's vehicle parked in the driveway. So now this is actually the house that I grew up at. So I've lived here for, roughly 30 years. So even if I can't see the neighborhood right now, I still know my way around and what I'm looking at because, for the first 27 or so years, I could see everything here and I just know what all the houses look like. I know where the houses are. I know where the streetlights are, everything like that. But yeah, so I actually just walked down the driveway a little bit and I wanted to point one thing out. Straight across the street, there's a house. And I can see, hopefully I'm getting in the camera, I'm not sure if I am, but I can see that there's a really dim, faint light in the yard. And what I think that is, I think it's a little like spotlight shining at a tree. But I can see that there's something illuminated right there. But that's about it. When I look across the street, I don't see the house. I can't see the house, but I know it's there. So I'm gonna walk down to the end of the street, or to the end of the driveway, and I'll point down to the left, and then I'll explain what I see down that direction. So I'm standing at the edge of the curb. Oops, actually there's a car coming, so I'm not going to turn that way. I'm actually gonna turn to the right here for a second, wait for that car to go by. So, as I look down to the right, I know that there's roughly 7 to 8 houses down that direction that in the daylight, I would be able to look, well, I shouldn't say a sighted person would be able to look down there and see all of these houses. For me, right now, as I look down there, I'm not actually sure what's showing up in the camera, but it is completely black that direction for me. I don't see anything. I can't see anything down there. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the other side, to the left here now that the car passed. So as I look down here to the left, way down at the end of the street, at the intersection, there's a street light, another bright street light. So I can see that street light. And I can see something else. I can't identify what it is. But when I look roughly right there, there's actually another house there. I can see something that's lit up. I don't actually see like a light, but I can see that there's maybe some type of ambient lighting, or I'm just kind of moving my way over this way a little bit. Okay, there. Maybe not. Okay, there. So now I see possibly some house lights. And that's what's causing that bright hue that I see over there. So again, I don't specifically see the lights, but I can see that there's something bright that direction. And knowing what's over there, I know that there's a house there. So I'm assuming it's just, you know, their house lights that are on. But otherwise, when I look down to the left, I see, you know, the street light. I see some, you know, vague, just a glowing hue from right over there. And then I also see there's a house over that direction. And I can see they must have maybe an outside light on, or maybe it's lights from inside their house that is shining out. I can see something in that direction. So I'm hoping that all this is showing up on the camera. So let's go back over this way. So actually right across the street from the property line of my parents' house and the neighbor is a cul-de-sac. So I'm going to look up the cul-de-sac and give you an idea of what I can see up there. Again, as I said, I grew up in this neighborhood, so I know the layout and I know everything very well. But when I look up at in the cul-de-sac, there's a street light up at the very end of it. Hopefully I'm pointing at it there. So it's way far up at the end there. I can see a bright street light again. Other than that, the only thing that I see up that direction is right over here again. This house on the corner has their street lights on. So I can see 2 lights on the outside of their house. There might be more, but I only see 2. So I see those bright lights. Other than that, I don't see any of the houses. I can't even see the street, honestly. I know it's there, but I can't see it. So as for me, as a person with RP, so I'm gonna make my way back to the driveway and kind of walk up there and talk to you guys a little bit more. But as a person with RP, you know, one of the initial symptoms of it is night blindness. So for me, when I was younger, something I always thought was really interesting, I'm gonna flip the camera around. Something that I always thought was very interesting when I was younger is how everyone could see in the dark. I always thought it was so interesting how when I was outside at night with family or friends or anybody else, we would be outside and they would, you know, they would just navigate and walk around like it was day, like there was daylight. And I always thought it was so interesting how people would just walk around like no big deal. And I would struggle to walk around at all at night. And I just thought it was so weird. And I would always ask people, like, you know, can you see? Or, you know, like, what's going on? How can you see? And people would be like, oh yeah, I can see just fine. Can't you see? And I was like, no, I can't see anything. I don't know what you guys are doing. So it was really interesting to me, and it still is interesting to me, how people who are sighted can see so well at night and just walk around like it's no big deal without a flashlight and just kind of hang around and walk. So I always thought that was such an interesting concept. Something else I thought was really interesting too, that I still think is interesting, is when people look up at the sky. It was cloudy here today, so I'm guessing the sky is still cloudy. I don't know. But when people look up at the sky and they're like, wow, look at all those stars. And I can't see stars anymore, but when I was younger, I was able to see stars. And I always thought it was interesting because people would make such a big deal. You know, family or friends or whoever I was with would look up and be like, wow, you know, there's so many stars up there. And the most amount of stars I've ever been able to see was probably 5. And I was friends with a kid in high school, and he, you know, we hung out at night and whatever, and he would look up at the sky and he'd be like, wow, I wish I had a nickel for every star I could see. And I would always think, like, I don't, because I can only see 5. That would only be a quarter, you know? So it's kind of funny because I always just thought it was so fascinating how our worlds are just so much different. Mine is one of, when it gets dark out, I mean, it is like blackness. But when it's night out for a sighted person, it's not necessarily blackness, but rather, I don't know, apparently dark, but they can still see. I don't know how people do it, but what's interesting, so like I said, I'm at my parents' house right now, and inside are my parents, Corey, and my 2 nieces are actually over too. So if I went inside right now and asked any of those 5 people to come and stand out here next to me and explain to me what they actually see, I'm gonna turn around because the car's coming, and if I ask them what they actually see, I'm sure that they would, you know, point up and down the neighborhood and say, I see all these different houses, and I can see the street, and oh, maybe down that way there's a car parked on the road. And they'd be able to look over and say, oh yeah, that house over there has 2 trees in the yard, and that one has 1 tree. And I don't know, it's just such a different reality and world for people who are sighted and can see at night versus someone with RP. So yeah, I just thought it would be interesting to give my perspective of what I can see as a person with RP at night in the darkness, because, you know, that's just one of the main symptoms, or one of the earliest symptoms of RP anyway, is night blindness. So, so yeah, if you have RP, I'd be really interested to hear from you as to what can you see at night. You know, there's a lot of us who have RP, and the progression of it is different. So for example, I'm 34, and my progression has been maybe a little more rapid than some other people. There are some of you who are possibly a little bit older than me and still have quite a bit of vision, or still my same age and still have, you know, a decent amount of vision, which is awesome. That's super cool, and I'm excited for you. I'm glad that you do. I hope it stays that way, or, you know, at least you maintain. But what I'm curious about is, I'm wondering if night blindness also deteriorates and diminishes just as quickly as, you know, the rest of our vision. So I guess I'm curious if, for some of you who have RP and still have some pretty good vision, do you have vision at night, or not so much? So for those of you who have RP, I'd be interested to know what your night vision is like. Is your night vision terrible like mine, regardless of the amount of actual vision you still have? So anyway, leave that down in the comments. I'd really be interested to hear from you. So anyway, I really appreciate hearing and just getting to know all of you and your support here on this channel. It's been such a fun experience making all these videos and interacting with all of you, getting to know you. It's just been such a fun experience over the last 6.5 months. So anyway, like I said, leave your comments, questions down in the comment section below. Otherwise, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Actually, if you look down in the lower right corner of this video, there's actually a picture of me. If you click on that picture, you will actually be subscribed. So I'd really appreciate that. Otherwise, stay tuned for more videos like this in the future. And I'm always trying to deliver as much valuable content as I possibly can. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you again soon.